And good morning. Time now for our community profile on this Tuesday, June 23rd, 2015. This is Milton Baker along with you, along with co-host and executive producer of today's show, Miss Sandy Alexander. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Milton.
Good to see you again.
And you too.
If you would, please introduce, of course, our guest for today on the Community Profile Show.
I'll be glad to. We're pleased to have Greg McIntyre with us today. He is an attorney in Shelby, North Carolina. And let me tell you a little something about him. He's a family man, married to a beautiful girl, Stephanie. He has 6 gorgeous children. Mm-hmm. And so outside the law office, he's a number one daddy and husband. He's a good Christian man. What comes out of his mouth is the truth, and he will help you in any way possible. And today we're going to be touching on, and we'll never get through with this because there's so much to be said and so much to be done. Mm-hmm. But at the end of our broadcast, and after Greg is gone, or even before maybe, call his law office and use the code word radio. Mm-hmm. And he will give you 1 hour of information that we'll be talking about and touching on today. Mm-hmm. And it's free. Mm-hmm. So what a wonderful gift that he's leaving us with at the end of our discussion. So don't forget, I will give you the number a little later on, and you call it and use the code word code, and you'll be meeting with Greg McIntyre for an hour. All right. And kind of get you in line, ready to go. So, Greg, we are so pleased to have you, and already you have answered questions for me because, you know, when it comes to will and end-of-life stuff, we all kind of, I'll do that later. I don't really want to talk about that. Estate planning, planning ahead. Our minds just don't want to kind of go there. Well, I can do that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I've got plenty of time. But sometimes it hits us before we know it. So Greg has got some great ideas, great things that we should be doing. And Greg, I'm going to hand it to you and let you educate Milton and I and the rest of the listening audience about what we need to know.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Milton. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sandy.
Good morning.
Number one, thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Milton, and the WOHS family for allowing me to come on and have this platform to talk to 16 counties. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. I'm going to get cold feet now. 16 counties, and just such a wide listening area, and talk about elder law. Mm-hmm. I'm not just an attorney. I'm not a general practitioner. I'm an elder law attorney, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's specifically what we broadcast. That's what we talk to clients about on a regular basis, okay? Mm-hmm. That's where my head is. That's where I spend the majority of my time, is helping seniors protect their assets and legacies, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're located at 123 West Marion Street in Uptown Shelby. So it's as easy as 123 West Marion, but we consider our region Western North Carolina from Charlotte to Asheville, okay? Mm-hmm. And we do travel and make house calls on a regular basis. I'm blessed to be a part of a national group of elder law attorneys that's called Elder Council. Elder Council gives me a really deep bench. It's not just me on the radio right now. I've got, tons of attorneys behind me that are in that group as well, that also help me in solving problems. If there's a problem I haven't seen before, there's an Elder Council attorney in North Carolina that has seen it before. And I help them as well. So we constantly jam back and forth, if you will, on problem solving. So it gives me a really deep bench. Mm-hmm. And I'm blessed to do that. So we were talking about planning ahead, and that's true. If you call my office, the number is 704-259-7040 with the code word radio today. We're going to give you a free legal strategy session and asset protection session with me for 1 hour at least, or however long it takes, as a gift to you and your family for listening to WHS today.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what's the question that you told me to ask, that we were talking about?
Do you do wheels?
Do you do wheels?
Do you do wheels? That sounds like
man,
Carl
do you do
on
wheels?
Sling Blade.
That's right. So I get that question everywhere I go, okay? I mean, I do education seminars. I've been doing them for 2 years now, and I still get the same questions. Even in the same geographic area, in and around Cleveland County and surrounding counties. And people still don't know the best way to pass property to protect their assets. There's a 7 out of 10 chance, according to a U.S. Department of Health and Human Services report done in 2005, 7 out of 10, 70% chance that if you're over 65 at that time, there's more people over 65 now, you're going to need some type of long-term care during your life, whether it be in-home, assisted living, or nursing home care, okay? How much does nursing home care cost?
Oh, my goodness.
What's the national average?
I wouldn't have it.
I would say
$76,000.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And there could be more cost associated with support. Let's say you're spending $100,000 and you're spending down everything you worked for your entire life at $100,000 a clip every year. That doesn't take too long for even a substantial estate to be gone.
Yeah.
And if you have something like Alzheimer's or dementia, I mean, your body can far outlive your mind. So you're in that for the long haul. Things that used to take us out of this world don't immediately anymore. And health care and long-term care cost a lot of money. So that's what we work on is pre-planning. And there's a lot of different aspects of that, okay? So do I do wills? Of course we do. But I look at a will as a catch-all. If you sat down with me for a legal strategy and asset protection session, and we walk out of there and we're passing everything by will, then I must have been asleep that day, okay? Because that's not the best way to do it. If you do a will, what happens? Where do you go to open a probate an estate, probate a will? Where do you go to handle that when your loved one passes away? You go to the courthouse, right?
Yeah.
Don't you,
Yeah.
Milton? You go to the courthouse, you open up that probate estate, and what's it open it up to? You got to put it in a paper.
That's right.
If it's a certain size, right, you got to wait 90 days. And what does it open it up to? Does it open it up to people from all around to come out of the woodwork to throw money at you? No. It opens it up for liens to be placed on your estate. Medicaid liens, health care liens from the last, costs from the last year of your life. Any other liens that are hanging out there. Heaven forbid you had a car wreck and your minimum limits car insurance of $30,000 didn't cover it. That comes back against you. That comes back against your personal property in your estate. So if you're passing everything, how long do you pay for a house? Most working men and women, how long do they pay for their house?
Usually 30 years.
Or 40 years. They do,
Yeah.
or they take out home equities. They pay for it their entire life sometimes. And then they lose it in the end because of a long-term care situation, a health care situation that's not their fault
Yeah.
because the system's set up that way. So that's what my practice is designed to do, is to help the senior stay in control of their assets for their entire life and then pass it on to their loved one and their families. The Kennedys didn't get to be the Kennedys by being stupid with estate planning.
Yeah. Milton?
Well, I just wonder, you're talking about wills and folks whose, maybe their dementia or mental state affects decision-making.
Sure.
And power of attorney comes to my mind. I have seen it. Giving someone your power of attorney can be a tricky, icy slope there itself.
Swinging for the fences and getting the home run before you start at first base is not a good idea. So you're starting at the basics and the foundations, and that's where we need to start. Foundations would be a power of attorney. General durable power of attorney. Ours are between 21 and 26 pages long. I'm not a huge fan of a short form power of attorney because you need it to be able to allow for Medicaid planning purposes and be bulletproof. Banks are more and more prone to not accept powers of attorney or be skeptical of them because of the issues that you just raised.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you have a trusted family member. I know right now out of my 6 kids, love them all, but I know who I would choose right now as to be my power of attorney. I'd choose my wife first. I wouldn't stop there. You don't just put one person in the game, right? You don't play 5 players in a basketball game. You got some people on the bench too. So you want to put some people on the bench to come in should that number one person, my wife, be unable or unwilling to serve because of any reason, maybe healthcare problems. Heaven forbid she pass first. I'd want that trusted son to come in and handle those matters. But if we don't put general durable powers of attorney in place that are bulletproof documents, what happens? Do you know?
No, I don't.
You wind up in a guardianship situation. Okay? Which guardianship situations are court situations. It's going and having hearings. What if the kids don't agree as to who should be the guardian? Then you got a fight on your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, as the attorney, if you want to throw away your money and spend a ton on legal fees doing guardianships, feel free. But I'd rather see you plan ahead, pay 1/10 of the cost for foundational documents like general durable power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. Why would that be important?
Yeah. You tell me.
I will. So healthcare power of attorney, who are the doctors going to talk to? You got all the Indians running around the family. Appoint a chief that can counsel with the family. That's my father and that side of the family. Sandy and I were talking about that before we came on today. Ted's the go-to guy. He counsels with everybody else, and he's good at that. He's a very trustworthy, Christian guy. He's a model father for me. And then he goes and reports to the assisted living facility, the nursing home, the doctors, the nurses, right? They know who to talk to. If not, then they got a bunch of Indians running around telling them different things to do.
Yeah.
So appoint that one person to talk to make those important healthcare decisions.
Yeah.
What about a living will? A living will, by the way, is not a will and has no power after you pass away, right? A living will is simply, it's also called a declaration for a desire for a natural death. I can't imagine the guilt, and I hope I never have to go through it, of having to make a decision whether to keep a family member, my mother, my father, on life support. You can take that guilt-ridden decision off of your family members, off of your children. You can make those decisions while you're competent, while you're able, while you're just, you know exactly what you want. And it's not an end-all, be-all. Your healthcare power of attorney, that attorney, in fact, still makes that final call. But your living will is a statement of intent. It says, if I'm in a situation where I'm terminable. Just made up a word, terminable. I just combined it.
It's a new movie.
It's the Terminable-nator. 12th version. So terminal, incurable. Your body has far outlived your mind. You're being maintained by machinery. Do you want to linger on? I go back and forth on that issue. Sometimes I want to be maintained until I'm just a toenail. Sometimes, because I had a grandfather, Papa Mac, who was in a coma for like 6 months and came out of it and lived 20-something years.
That's the thing. You just don't. They could pop out of it, and you just don't know.
And they were. I think we had the doctors were trying to persuade us to code him. I mean, to say, do not resuscitate at that time, because he died a few times.
Oh yeah, I know a lady that lived 14 years.
Yeah.
I had a machine breathing for her. Now, of course, she did eventually pass on, but for 14 years, those machines kept her alive, and she was gone. I mean. Oh
well, that's the other side of that. That's I think the depressing and sad side of that. Is and I see those situations all the time, where people, it's like That's why I go back and forth. I never want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Pull the plug on me if that's me, okay? But I can say that in a document ahead of time. I can release the healthcare power of attorney, the attorney in fact. I can release who might be my wife or my son from liability. I can release the doctors in the facilities from liability for trying to follow my wishes. And that I may have strong religious beliefs about that. You know, it just depends on. It's a deeply personal issue.
Yeah. It's something that you've got to make that decision on your own. Nobody else knows how you feel about it.
Nobody else can make it. That's right.
They don't know. They can't come in there and sit down and say, "Now you really need to do this. This is the way I think you ought to do it." That's not going to work.
You hit the nail on the head. That's why you need to make that decision. The living will allows you to make that decision and doesn't leave it up to somebody else to make that decision for you.
Yeah.
And both my parents had a DNR bracelet on their arms. Do not resuscitate.
Right.
Because early in life they made up their minds. We don't want to live artificially. You know, if there's no way that we can come back and be us, then we just as soon go on. And they did. They made that decision. Me and my brother didn't have to. They did it.
So let's talk about Medicaid asset protection.
Yes.
Okay? Many times we were talking about that long-term care situation. 7 out of 10 people are going to run into that buzzsaw. Okay? If you don't have long-term care insurance, and I don't see that unicorn very often, okay? It's rare. If you don't have it, then you're spending out of pocket. I see so many people that do what I call a hang your head spend out. That's my term. because I see it from afar. People hang their heads. They go to Medicaid. They spend down all their money. And now, let me say this. The social workers over there are absolutely top-notch. We're blessed to have a great social services and Medicaid system, okay, that pays for long-term care, but at a price. How many, do you guys know people who have spent down everything they worked for and lost their house in the end because of a long-term care situation? Sure. We all do.
Yeah.
I've had it happen in my family. I'm writing a book right now called Saving the Farm about my grandfather who was in assisted living care for the last 15 years of his life. Had to sell everything. If he had been able to come to someone like me, an elder law attorney, I could have put a ladybird deed on his house immediately, saved it. You could put a ladybird deed on your house today, stay in control of it until the end of your life, still maintain the power to sell it or mortgage it without the future interest holders, your kids, for instance, who are going to get it, signing off. I'm passing it outside of that will and probate estate. So when I pass away, or me and my wife, and the last one of us pass away, it's automatically theirs, okay? And Medicaid can't touch it. We've been good enough in North Carolina, that system has, to really put that in the Medicaid code that a ladybird deed is not a countable asset transfer. So North Carolina is now becoming very retirement friendly as a state. And allowing people to keep their houses. But there's how many thousands of people in your listening audience right now are going through this right now and have no idea what a ladybird deed is? And I've been preaching.
First time I've ever heard the term.
Well, me too.
Who's Lady Bird Johnson?
Yeah, I didn't know if it had something to do with
Who's
her or
Lady
not.
You know Milton.
The first, Lyndon Johnson's
Lyndon
wife.
B. Johnson. And what did he implement? What system?
Gosh, you got me
Medicare,
there.
Medicaid
Yeah,
system.
Medicare,
Okay.
Medicaid.
Right.
Grandfather of Medicaid.
I was a
right?
little bit young.
There you go. There you go. I mean, I don't even know if I was here.
You wasn't here
I was
yet.
a bit young too.
Yeah.
So you know, a ladybird deed. Oh, she had a great saying, by the way.
Right.
Do something that makes you feel uncomfortable every single day, like going on a radio show. Okay? so you know, a ladybird deed is not a countable asset transfer for Medicaid purposes. In North Carolina, there's a look-back period. 3 years for assisted living Medicaid, which is called special assistance, and 5 years or 60 months for nursing home Medicaid. If you transfer an asset that's isn't under the rules, you don't know what you're doing, you know, you're guessing at it, within those 5 years, Medicaid will penalize you, okay, or not provide health care until you transfer it back. That's just the rules. A ladybird deed protects the home and any attached property. It could be a house in 1 acre. It could be a house in 1,000 acres, okay, as long as it's contiguous, okay? And there's a lot of different strategies for not only that, as well as the farmland in the upper part of the county, or, you know, some other property that you have. There's ways to save those too, even in a pinch. But we would rather plan ahead. You know why we'd rather plan ahead? Costs a lot less, and it's a lot less heavy lifting. When we're in an emergency rush, it costs more and it's harder. You can spend a tenth of the money and plan ahead with a foundations package, and a ladybird deed is a very good package for the common person, okay? For people like me and you. It's not just for the rich.
Okay.
Okay? We talk about veterans planning?
Yeah, I'm just reading here what we should hit on next. Emergency crisis planning. Did we cover that?
Well, you know, that's in the situation where if you have a loved one that's in a nursing home or assisted living facility, and you're watching that money that you've worked for your entire life, or your family has, disappear, and you're scared that they're going to come in and put a lien on that house, and that it's going to go away, that you worked for 30 or 40 years, and now it's going to go back somewhere, you know, not in your family to pass on. I mean, I grew up in the United States. I thought Russia was the place where the state owned all the property. Now there's a huge mass turnover of property with the baby boomers getting older and running into long-term care situations. Okay, so if you're watching that money disappear, we can help. We do emergency Medicaid crisis planning all the time. We can get in and stop the bleeding, triage the situation, and stop the money flow from going out. We can look at things like if you've been a veteran, you see the flag I have on? I'm a veteran. I was in during the Iraq war window. I would qualify for aid and attendance because I served 90 days at least. I served 4 years. But the qualifications to qualify for aid and attendance, the little-known veterans benefit of aid and attendance, is 90 days in the military, 1 day served during a wartime event. Could be the Korean conflict, the Vietnam War, Iraq War, anything that VA qualifies. And if you go to mcelderlaw.com, that's mcelderlaw.com, MikeCharlieElderlaw.com. I have tons of blogs, video content, and podcasts that I do about all these subjects and aid and attendance. There's a link on there to VA's website to the actual document that shows the wartime events that qualify you for aid and attendance. That's up to a $2,500 benefit for the veteran, $1,750 ballpark numbers for the spouse of a veteran, or ballpark $1,250 for the spouse of a deceased veteran. Okay, if you served 1 day during a wartime event, you didn't have to be in the thick of combat. You could have been stationed in San Diego like I was. Okay, now I did have a 1.5-year sea time, spent a lot of time in the Middle East, but on aircraft carriers. But you don't have to be in combat to qualify for that benefit. Just in the military during that time, and people don't know about these things.
No, they don't.
They don't know about it. So that's crisis planning. We look at those things to see if the senior qualifies, okay, for any of those things, and how to best protect their assets. We can generally save 100% of liquid assets and real property if there's a healthy spouse, and about probably half that and the real property save that if there's if it's just if there's not a healthy spouse, okay, if it's a single person. But we love doing Medicaid crisis planning, but we'd rather plan ahead.
Oh, yeah.
We'd much rather plan ahead. So there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of legal strategy out there. You know, it's putting it under a microscope for me. I don't do everything. I used to practice door law. You know what door law is, Milton?
No.
Everything that walks through the door.
Okay.
When I came out of college, I went to school the old-fashioned way. I borrowed every penny, okay?
Yeah.
And the military helped me pay, all right,
Yeah.
with the GI Bill and paying for 2/3 of my undergrad while I was in. But it's a great option for send your kids to college, by the way.
Yeah.
But you know, I had a general practice for years and did estate planning, and just gradually, I think elder law picked me, not the other way around, to be honest with you. I just gradually gravitated toward it, and ended up joining the national group, Elder Council, and really getting into it and going to legal education around the country with those guys, and just really getting active in that community. So.
Yeah, and it's a way, you know, some people say, you know, I like working with this group, or I like working with that group. Well, in your case, you're working, maybe you like working with older folks, and this is how, through your profession, you can do that.
I love helping seniors protect their assets and legacies. I also love the legal strategy of it. There's not, I mean, to me, there's not much difference in legal strategy between this and a jury trial. It's still legal strategy, taking a look at the law and what's allowable under the law. So, what's
You know,
the right
a
way to
lot
do
of
things?
people just don't know that they have any options. You're taught all your life, well, when we get a certain age, we need to make out a will, we need to do, plan our funerals, we need to do all this. And they don't really think about, like their homes. What if they have to go to a nursing facility? What if there's not enough money to pay for it? You don't want to lose a home that you've worked all your life for. And when there's an option that you could go about it in another way, why wouldn't in the world would you not do that? It just seems common sense to just to be able to go down that venue and find out these different things that you can do to protect all this for your children, for yourself,
for your family,
for your
to build. You know, I mentioned the Kennedys. You know, I don't know. You may or may not like that example, but whether you like them or not, they certainly build up an enormous amount of wealth over time, and they didn't do it by not planning ahead.
Yeah, the plan. Let's tell everybody again the special offer that you have, calling the office and mentioning the code word radio again. Would you tell the folks again how they
Please
can,
give us a call.
Yeah.
704-259-7040. Call our office at 123 West Marion Street. Mention the code word radio and that you heard us on WOHS this morning or ktcbroadcasting.com. And we'll give you a free 1-hour strategy session. I was emailing my crew last night late, up preparing for this, sweating it, dreading coming in, just scared to death. And just to be ready, if anybody called in with that code word, let's go ahead and sign them up for free.
All right. Okay.
Well, that's great, Greg. Thank you so much, and it's so enlightening, and answered questions I know for myself I didn't know. And this young man, he mentioned house calls a while ago. I know for a fact I saw him not long ago near my house doing a home visit, and you don't hear from that anymore. That's just obsolete, but not with him.
The doctors used to make house calls, didn't they?
They sure did.
They were your friend, and they came to your house, and you knew them. And man, I'm humble. I'm a humble guy. I'm a humble dude. I will work for my food, and I will come to you, okay? And I've got 6 kids and a wife. Daddy's got to work. So,
that's right.
So and I believe in protecting what I work for, just like we preach.
Yeah.
So I'll come to your house. We'll do it in the living room. I'll bring my team out there. We'll sign documents, whatever we need to do for you.
Well, that's great, Greg. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you for being with us.
Yes, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you, Milt.
Sandy, that's it for today on the Community Profile. What's coming up next?
Okay, tomorrow we're going to speak to a lady from the American Legion Auxiliary. We're getting all geared up for the American Legion World Series of ball games that are coming. So she's going to be here tomorrow to talk to us about that.
Okay. That's Community Profile for today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.